And I think sometimes with
Yeah.
friendships, we're so afraid to be burdensome. And it's like, this is the
Yeah.
place where you're free to be a burden. Like, and you're not even a burden. Friendships aren't meant to be convenient. They're meant to be purposeful. I don't need my friends to be
Yeah.
convenient. I just need to love them and I need them to love me back.
So I want to talk about entrepreneurship and mindset blocks because this is what you do. You coach women on how to take their businesses to the next level, right?
Mhm.
So, as we're sitting in this season in this country with our economy as it is, what are you seeing? How are you seeing that impact the people that you are working with? So, how does all the things that's happening outside of us impact our inner selves and therefore our businesses?
Yeah. I mean, outside is just crazy. It's wild, and I think what's really important, especially being in the mindset space or the spiritual space or faith-based space, is to not gaslight people or spiritually bypass and just be like, "Well, you just have to be positive." And you do have to be
Mhm.
positive. Of course, you wanna have a perspective of gratitude, but I think it's also very important to look at the reality of what's going on, especially primarily working with Black and brown women. It's like we got to look at what's going on from a race perspective, a gender equality perspective, capitalism, with
Yep.
the economy. And so just having honest conversations with clients about like, how are you feeling, the same way that you asked me, and then figuring out like, okay, what do we actually have control over? What can you do? And so I think, noticing with my clients, I'm like, at the end of the day, as empathetic as I can be, we still have to do what we have to do. I still need to
Yeah.
promote my business. I still need to charge the prices I need to price. Like, I got to pay this mortgage either way, right? I got to
Right.
pay the mortgage if it's a good day, if it's a bad day. I got to pay this car note if it's a good day or a bad day. If the lights got to stay on, I still need gas, all of those things. So I think it's more so about learning how to cope and expand our capacity to cope and just deal with what's going on, and then just say to yourself like, in what capacity am I willing to still show up to make sure all my needs are met? Because if I then start neglecting myself because I fall victim to all of the things that's going on, I'm going to be in an even deeper hole. So it's like
Yeah.
stressed by what's going on with the world, but then I'm stressed because my business isn't making money. I'm stressed because I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. And it's like, well, what can we do to make sure that we're not adding to the stress that's already going on in the real world?
Yeah, that makes sense. So for somebody who may not be like a seasoned entrepreneur, may not be, in their business for 2, 3, 4+ years,
Mhm.
and they're navigating this time, right? What are some just really practical things that they can continue to do or start to do um, to help, like you said, promote the business and for the bills to be paid?
Yeah. I mean, if you're new to entrepreneurship and you still have a full time job, I would really consider your full time job right now as a luxury. You are in a season where you are getting paid consistently and you have something that can fund what you're trying to do. And I also understand that having a full time job can be stressful. It can be
Yeah.
annoying. Maybe the people that you work for or the people that you work with, maybe you're not getting paid what you desired. Maybe there's a level of stress, and so it can be challenging to look at something that's bringing you stress as a blessing. But oftentimes when we don't look at things with the perspective of gratitude, our blessings can feel like burdens. And it's like, girl, I just need you to lock in for how many ever months. Just lock in for another 6 months of getting 12 more paychecks and figure out what you want to do with that paycheck. That can help you save, that can help you invest, that can help you then move into full-time entrepreneurship. And while you're still at this job, you need to study what is working. You need to think about, is there a course I can invest in? How can I invest my time, whether I'm on YouTube, I'm going to webinars, whatever it is. But you have to be, especially wanting to be a full time entrepreneur, you have to design your own curriculum for yourself. And what I mean by that
Yeah.
is, I don't mean that you're not investing in courses or coaching. It's you're actually being intentional of saying like, okay, I'm going to take this course and then in 3 months I plan to work with this coach, and in the meantime I'm going to read these 4 books. You have to design your own strategy of success, your own curriculum of success, to make sure you actually get there. And I don't feel like I see, excuse me, enough entrepreneurs being intentional about devising a legitimate plan. I think we just kind of like
Yeah.
wait and hope. I think we scroll, we get motivated for a little
Yeah.
bit, and it's like, oh, maybe I'll work with her, maybe I'll take this course. And because of all the stress that we're dealing with, it can be challenging for us to just sit, clear our mind, and make clear decisions. But it's
Yep.
so important to be intentional about taking control about your with your own journey and saying, this is what I'm going to invest my time and money in so I can have the future that I desire.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you mentioned that a lot of us do also have jobs that we report to, right? And I think for a while, the conversation online at least was like, oh, forget those jobs and just go in all in on yourself or for yourself. And I get it, but you make a good point. Like, this is, you know, we're here right now.
Yeah,
Let's deal with the here and now.
yeah,
And I think it's such a blessing, especially today, to also have a job that you are getting that steady income from to then reinvest into your business.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that messaging is so outdated, and I think it can apply differently for everybody. So I think I could look at some clients who I'm like, okay, you have 8 months of expenses saved up. You're stressed about this job. It's not serving you in entrepreneurship. Just go ahead and quit. Then there's some
Mhm.
people where it's like, you're barely making ends meet with the job you have now. This is not the season to quit. Things are getting more
Yep.
expensive. And so I definitely don't think you really honestly have to use discernment. And I tell this to my
Mhm.
clients as well. Like, even when you're working with a coach, even when you're working with me, as much as you trust my guidance, you still have to understand that I'm your guide and I'm not your God. So I'm here
Mhm.
to coach my clients on what God is telling them to do. Okay, He said He wants you to build this type of business. I can give you the strategy through experience, but everybody has to make decisions based on their level of discernment first. And then we build the strategy around that.
Let's talk more about discernment. So, I feel like discernment is something that it's like a muscle and you have to like work it, right? To like for it to like be its fullest. I'm not sure that makes any sense. But um for those who don't know, like what is discernment? Like, I don't know. I've heard the word, but I don't know what discernment is and how do I even apply that to myself?
Yeah. I mean, I look at discernment as your Holy Spirit guiding you into making the best decision for you in a specific situation. It's your own personal conviction, really. And this is why, having a relationship with God is so beautiful because regardless of what your faith is, I identify as Christian. So I'm do my best to make decisions based on what the Bible says. But even with discernment, it's going to be based on your unique situation. And that's why relationship is more important than just the religion and the rules. Because again, if we use the example of should I quit my job? Should I stay at my job? There's no scripture that's like, this is when to quit your job or this is when to not
Yeah.
quit your job. You have to use that wisdom and discernment to know, okay, this is my unique situation, this is what God promised me. This is the plan that God has for me. And this is what God is telling me to do based on his unique plans for me. So that's how I look at discernment, just how the Holy Spirit is guiding you in your personal convictions.
That makes sense. Makes good sense. Um, so when we talk about just living our lives, right? We're told to have faith. And because the world is what it is and we've been in unprecedented times for like our whole lives at this point, right? If you're a millennial,
Yes.
right? So, what does it mean to have faith in this time? And in even a more practical sense outside of what we're told in the scriptures, if you are a Christian, those who are listening and watching.
Hmm. So, what does it mean to have faith in this time?
Faith, like how do you, yeah, like move through faith in your business and in your life, like when things are so uncertain and you just can't see the road, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think it's definitely tough. And I love having these conversations, especially in a faith-based setting, because again, I think spiritual bypassing is so prevalent in faith-based communities when it's just like, just pretend nothing is happening. And it's like there is a difference between being delusional and having faith. And
Mhm.
when I think about increasing my faith, I think about, okay, well, what are the things that I'm listening to? What am I believing, right? What do I believe to be true about my relationship with God? What do I believe to be true about the life that I think I should be living? I believe that I should be making good money. I believe that I'm called to serve women as a business coach. I believe that I should be able to pay my bills how many ever months in advance. I don't believe that I should be living paycheck to paycheck. I don't believe that I
Right.
should be going to bed stressed about money. And I mean, if y'all have ever heard me speak before, just familiar with my brand, y'all know how I feel about money. I think the more money we have, the less we worship it. I think it's very important for us to have
Mm.
money because I think when we misinterpret scripture, we think that, loving money or having money is a bad thing. And I believe
Yeah.
that we worship money more and think about it more when we don't have it. Because when you don't have money, you're constantly thinking about how you're going to get money.
How do I get it?
The more money I
Yeah.
have, the more I'm thinking about how I can help other people, how I can serve other people, how I can spend time with
Yep.
my family, what I can be doing. And when I'm
Yep.
reading my Bible, I'm not reading my Bible and thinking like, oh snap, it's the 28th. I got to pay rent in a few days. I'm just focused
Yeah.
on what I'm reading. When I have more money, I think more clearly. And
True.
so when it comes to faith, it's really about, okay, what are the things that I'm listening to? What are the environments that I'm in? Because I absolutely think that our faith can be shifted based on the environments that we're in and the things we're listening to. And when you're on social media, there's going to be a lot of fear mongering. You're going to hear a lot of
Yeah.
negativity because a lot of people are operating in their own fears and they are projecting. So when
Mhm.
you feel like your faith is low in a season, you have to be honest about what am I consuming? The
Yeah.
Bible calls us to renew our mind daily, and we're not renewing our mind in things that's going to add to our faith. We're renewing our mind in things that are feeding our fears. And so we have to say,
Yeah.
am I reading books that speak to being successful in hard times? Am I reading books that can give me strategy that can get me through the season? Am I reading books on how to be a better steward of my money? Am I reading books on how to expand my capacity, how to push through tough times? So you really just have to ask yourself, who's the type of person do I want to be? And am I putting myself in environments that can feed that person?
Yeah. Ooh, that's so good. Um, there's like a lot of like neuroscience around like just training your brain.
Mhm.
You know, what you train your brain to see is what it's going to see. It's going to seek the evidence of that thing.
Yeah.
So it goes back to like the faith. If you consume things that are going to strengthen the foundation of your faith and strengthen the foundation of who you are, right?
Mhm.
You're going to see more of that despite all of the mess that is in the world.
Yes.
Um, so you mentioned a lot of books. You said books, books, books. Are you reading, reading, reading? So tell me, what are your top 3 books in any, whether it's business or anything?
Ooh. Well, the book that came to mind when you started talking about training your brain and training your mind was Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Groeschel.
Okay.
He's a pastor, and I love reading books that do talk about the brain and they do talk about faith, where it's not opposing each other. Because I really
Yeah.
believe that science and faith correspond
Go
together really
together.
well. And I think sometimes people look at it as opposites. And I'm like, well, God
Yep.
made science. Like, who do you think made science? He made
Right.
our, of
Right.
course it's going to make sense together. So I would say Winning the War in Your Mind. I'm actually looking at it in front of me by Craig Rochelle. That's a really
Mhm.
good one. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. That's a phenomenal
Mhm.
book as well. And I'll say there's just so many. The Game of Life
Mhm.
and How to Play It is also a really good.
Okay, perfect. So I will drop those down below in the show notes. I kind of want to pivot and talk about your own personal journey. So you are a business coach. How did you arrive here? How did you know that this was what you wanted to do? This was the calling on your life?
Yeah, when I first got into entrepreneurship, I wasn't seeking out to be an entrepreneur. I'm first generation American. I have 2 parents from Liberia, West Africa, and if you guys know any Africans, you know that they don't come to this country seeking entrepreneurship. They want their kids to get a good education, go to university,
Yep.
get a good government job or whatever type of job.
Yes.
And so when I was in like elementary school, middle school, high school, I was introduced to the internet pretty young. As a millennial,
Mhm.
internet came
Mhm.
out. We had internet in our house when I was 6, and I was so fascinated by the internet. And in elementary school, middle school, I was kind of playing around. I was in chat rooms, not very safe. And then I would like build my own websites and stuff like that. I would have my own email address. And as I
Mhm,
got older into middle school, I was on like Black Planet, I was on MySpace and just creating my
mhm.
profiles. Again, not the safest thing, but I was so fascinated with the internet.
We all were
So
there.
we were all there. And so in high school is when I started like creating and branding my MySpace page. And then when I got to college, that was the first time somebody had paid me to design a custom MySpace page. And I was like, wow, I can't believe somebody's going to pay me money to do something that I do for fun and for free anyway. And that is when I started to understand, like, oh, I can get paid for a skill that I have. I can get paid for a service that I offer. My brain didn't instantly think, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. It was just like, oh, wow, people are
Mhm,
going to pay me. Let me see if I can get more people to pay me. And so that is how I got into the entrepreneurial space. And as I grew as a designer, I started to understand that I was helping people build their brand. And so I didn't realize I was in the branding space until
mhm.
probably years after, because I didn't, that term wasn't even as prominent back then in 2008 when I started doing it, or at least I wasn't familiar with it. So I went from creating MySpace pages to then helping people build their websites to then designing graphics, shooting photography, again, helping people build their brand from a visual aspect and helping people build their online platforms. And so I first had a design agency doing all of those things. Then I recognized my clients, they really didn't know how to communicate to the world what they were doing. So when they would hire me for a website, they didn't know what to put on their website. Like, well, what do I write on there? What photos do I need?
Mhm,
How come people aren't going to my website and buying? And so I started studying those things. I
mm,
started studying those things and I started blogging. And as I started blogging, I was getting a lot of attention. People were wondering, oh, how are you making money in college? How are you making enough money as a designer to not work a full time job? And so between building my own brand and studying strategy for my clients, that's eventually how I got into business strategy and business coaching.
wow.
So it was probably 7 years into running my own business as a designer that I finally went full time as a business coach.
Wow, wow. Um, so I can only imagine you speak to a lot of women, right? I've seen clips of your retreats and stuff that seem amazing. One day I will make it. Um, what has been the most fulfilling part? Like outside of course, just helping women execute their vision. Um, is there like a particular story that you can think of or a client that like stands out to you?
I think one, and every time I have my retreats and I pray before I start teaching, I just thank God for just trusting me. I'm like, I cannot
Mm,
believe that you trust me to serve your daughters and to help them with their impact. And I feel grateful. And it's not even that I can't believe it, because I actually, because I'm obedient, it makes it easier for God to trust me. It's like, okay, I need you to do this. And I've seen that you've done it through your events, through showing up, through being nervous, still doing it anyway. And so I just feel an immense gratitude every time that I do something major. I have a successful launch or my clients do well. I'm like, I can't believe that this is my life. So that's really one of the
yeah.
first feelings that I get. And then even helping clients, seeing the ripple effect of their impact is just wild. So one year I had a lady in my program. Her name is Tawanda. She is a Christian wife coach. And I've actually had a couple different wife coaches since then who are doing really well. But I think she was the first wife coach that I had in my program. And I had no idea what a wife coach was. And
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
wondering.
and so, and that's the fun part of what I do as well. Sometimes I don't know exactly what these people are doing until they come in, they
Mhm,
explain it to me, and I'm like, "Okay, I get it. Now I can build you out a strategy. You're gonna be successful." So she came in, she told
mhm.
me what a wife coach was. I helped her build out a strategy. I helped her communicate what a wife coach was in a way that people would pay her. And so she launched her program. She did really well. And then a few years later, I hired somebody as a lawyer who also ended up becoming a client. And I remember I was sitting at her table because I was doing my estate plan. And she was like, "Oh, just so you know," she was like, "I went through Tawanda's program and it saved my
Oh,
marriage, and
wow.
we had another baby since then." And I'm just like, mind
Wow.
blown, just thinking like, had no idea what a wife coach was, but helped this client build out a strategy and now marriages are being saved. And God is just so good that He would allow me to see that direct impact, because I don't always get to see
Yeah.
the direct impact that my clients have, but being able to see it right in front of my eyes is insane. And she also happened to be like
Mm.
the first cousin of one of my best friends, which is like the world is so
Oh, wow.
so yeah, it's so small, but just little things like that. One, seeing clients launch and make money. I love to see Black women make a lot of money. That's so fun.
Mhm.
But seeing the impact is just, it's chef kiss.
You talked about how you got here, right?
Mhm.
I would love to know more, even more insight about you with a little quick fire round.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind, don't think too hard about it. Okay, so when you are not working and you're just indulging in some self care time,
Mhm.
what is your non negotiable ritual or your first go to if you have just a couple of minutes to fit it in?
Um, I mean, usually just spending time by myself, usually just on the couch watching television, watching like some type of
Mm.
competition show.
Okay, fair. Do you karaoke? If so, what's your go to song?
I love karaoke. My go-to song is "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your first like taste of entrepreneurship was designing websites and things for people. Did you ever have like a job where you reported to someone? If so, what was that first job?
I had an internship at it was a medical device company, and that was where I really learned about brand standards. And so that was really, really interesting. I
Hmm.
remember at the time, I found it on Craigslist, because Craigslist was really that
Right.
girl back then.
Back in the day.
That's
Yep.
where I found some gigs and some clients.
Yep.
And I remember at the time, I went to go stay with my cousin for the summer, and I didn't have a car. And so I paid $60 for a cab ride to get to the interview. And I just felt really confident that I was going to get the gig. It was $10 an hour. That felt like a lot of money for me, because I think I was maybe 21 or 20. I don't even know. I was
Hmm.
21 back then, 21 or 22.
Hmm.
And it was interesting. It was kind of cool. I was excited to like dress up and sit in a cubicle.
Hmm.
And so I did that for maybe 4 or 5 months, and that was
Yeah.
the closest experience I
Nice.
had to work in corporate.
Nice. If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
Ooh, if I wasn't coaching, Um, I mean, it's so hard to not coach. I think if I wasn't business coaching, I would be doing something in personal development. I have an online community
Okay.
called Work Hard, Live Soft, and we talk a lot about just like the systems that I have to just maintain my sanity, live a soft life, but still be very disciplined. So I love talking about those things, and I love being in community, and probably something just wellness related, fitness,
Yeah.
wellness. I love being healthy, but I also love the aesthetic of being fit. So just anything around that.
Yeah. I get that. Um, I want to talk more about your community. So, live hard, was it work hard, live soft?
Yes.
Okay. So, I can imagine that you speak to a lot of women who possibly work and they have their own business and they're mothers. And I can imagine that time is an issue, right? Because it's like there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight to someone who has a ton of responsibilities and is limited on time and resources for like extra help?
What I'm like, pray, because I don't like money answers all things. It says that somewhere in Proverbs. And I'm like, you just got to make more money. I don't, it
Yeah.
sounds like a very simple answer, but it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Have to figure out, or if you don't have money, okay, realistically, if it's like, okay, well, I'm not about to go out and get another job, and I, am not getting a raise anytime soon, you have to have a village. You have to have a
Yeah.
village. Um, I say often that living the soft life requires you to ask for help. So if you're not willing
Yep.
to ask for help for somebody to watch your kids, somebody like even one of my girlfriends the other week, she was just overwhelmed, and she was like, she was like, my house is a mess. I kind of need you to just come over and just help me organize it. And it's like, cool, that's no
Mhm.
problem. So you
Yeah.
have to know the areas that you are struggling with,
Mhm.
and build a village and a community where you feel safe enough to say, this is where I'm struggling and I really need your help in this area. And I think sometimes with
Yeah.
friendships, we're so afraid to be burdensome. And it's like, this is the
Yeah.
place where you're free to be a burden. Like, and you're not even a burden. Friendships aren't meant to be convenient. They're meant to be purposeful. I don't need my friends to be
Yeah.
convenient. I just need to love them and I need them to love me back.
Yeah. There's been a conversation about how we show up in community with each other. And there was this really good TikTok, I wish I knew her name, but she was saying how our parents knew how to be in community and we've kind of lost it to some degree.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to outside of friendship, you don't have to like everybody in your community, but you come together and you help each other out.
Yeah.
So my parents are Haitian.
Mhm.
So I when she said it, I was just like, yes, that's so true. Like I remember mom did not like certain people, but if they needed her, she's there. Like it's not about like all the fluffy stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of translates into our friendships too, because I think we think that friends are you're there to have fun and to hang out, but the real stuff, oh, I don't want to like to your point, be a burden
Right.
when I'm going through it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, community, I mean, even just thinking about, like, we would see it on older TV shows or movies where somebody moves into the neighborhood and you go over there and you take a
yep.
fresh cooked meal or some cookies or whatever. Even thinking about my sister, um, one of her sisters-in-law just got pregnant and had a baby, and so my mom cooked her food, and she's like, "Oh, well, traditionally this is what we'll cook. It's spinach," and she's like, "We just want to replenish their iron." And it's like the
Yep.
fact that I have a relationship with my sister's in-laws and their entire family,
Mhm.
and my mom does as well, and we know, okay, they just got married or they just had a baby. We instinctually know how to show up. I just think is so beautiful.
Yeah, yep. It's a lost art that we really need to be intentional about recultivating that for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. What song, if there is anyone, instantly makes you feel like, all right, you're in that, you're back. Like when you're walking on stage at a retreat or you're hosting something, is there like a song that you're either playing or in your mind to like really get you fired up or pumped up?
Oh, I don't know if I have a pumped up song. I do have some songs where like I wake up in the morning and I don't have anything to do for the day. Well, I have work to do for the day, but I don't have any calls, I don't have any interviews, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Oh, it's gonna be such a good day." And I would say "Lovely Day" by Bill Withers, and I'm just like living life,
Yes.
just
Yes.
happy that I just feel free for the day.
Yes. That's a good one. I love that
Yeah,
song.
it's just so good.
Yeah, and it's timeless too. Like, yeah, it's you can hear it's from a specific
Yeah,
time, but it applies all the time. Yeah,
yeah.
good one. So, as somebody who is an entrepreneur, what are some things that you do to reduce some overwhelm? And what are some things that the audience can do to also reduce their overwhelm as they just deal with day to day stressors and things?
Oh, that's such a good question. I really think the first thing you wanna do is audit every single thing that you're doing and every single thing that you're dealing with, and then separate the non-negotiables from things that you're doing just because you think you should be doing it, right? So, obviously,
Mm,
if you're a mom, you have to feed your kids, like, you gotta keep those
right.
people alive, it's a non-negotiable. So, as cute as they are, they stress you out and you can't get rid of them. Maybe, though,
Right.
then auditing, like, okay, what creates stress? And, of course, depending on the age range of your kids, if they're, like, 4 and under, they're just gonna be little terrorists that just depend on you, right? But then like
Right.
5 and older, they can kind of they have a different, just level of understanding. So under like,
Yeah.
communicating with your child, creating systems, and disclaimer, I'm not a mom. I'm just somebody who looks at systems and operations. So when we're dealing with people,
Hmm.
there's only so many systems we can put in place because we're humans. But
Hmm.
from a place of overwhelm, we take a look at what is causing the most stress. How can I reduce or eliminate this stress? I take a look at when I'm overwhelmed with just something simple like laundry, chores, dishes. What am I going to wear? I didn't have time to go to the gym. I look at, do I have a system in place that makes it easier for me to get my laundry done? Do I have a system in place that makes it easier for me to not have so many dishes? If it's
Yeah.
something as simple as dishes, it's like, y'all, we're eating off of plates for the rest of the week because I'm just not doing these
Right.
dishes. And if you want to eat
Right.
off of a dish, you better be old enough or,
Mm,
have
wash
the
them
ability to
dishes.
wash dishes.
Mm,
If it's laundry, kids, y'all got to do your own laundry.
mhm,
So you got to figure that out. Or I notice when I'm doing my laundry, it's one of my least favorite chores, but one of the biggest stressors in my life is when I'm in a season where I'm not working with my stylist. There's just something about clothes that
mm,
stresses me out. I go in my closet and I see that there are clothes in there, but I have nothing to wear. That is an
yeah,
indication to me that I have an overabundance of things that I don't use. I'm very big
mm,
on being clutter free. Like I would consider myself to be a minimalist. I don't like having things in my space that I don't actively use or I can see an immediate need for that's
mhm,
rooted in reality. Not the, "I could
yeah,
use this someday in the future." I'm not a, "Let me buy this just in case" type person.
right,
And so my example is like when I go in my closet, I'm like, okay, I have clothes in here that I'm like, I can't wear this to church. I can't wear this to the gym. I can't wear this to speak somewhere. Why is it even in my closet? This happens when I shop
yeah,
for myself and I don't rely on my stylist to shop for me. When I'm doing laundry, now, and this again just an example, so this can work for any area of your life that creates stress. I have to know that every single thing has a place. So as I'm folding my laundry, obviously I know my underwear goes in the underwear drawer. I fold my workout clothes, there's a specific drawer for that. I hang up these type of shirts and they go there. As I'm doing laundry and I can't instantly categorize stuff, I'm like, what are these clothes and why do I even have, did I
for
just throw this on one
yeah,
day because I had a Zoom meeting and I needed sweatpants on the bottom and I have this random top that I never actually ever wear? And so for me, I need to instantly categorize things. My brain personally needs to be able to filter things because if it's not filtered, if it's not structured, if it doesn't go into boxes, it creates a lot of chaos for me. And I know that biologically, men and women think differently. Men really actually do operate in like boxes and women's brains
yeah,
are kind of like wires. And I think I just kind of
mhm,
lean a little bit more on the masculine side and like I need ideas and things structured in
yeah,
boxes because when it's all over the place, it creates too much overwhelm for me and I'm just no good when I'm
mhm.
overwhelmed.
Yeah. I'm happy you mentioned that because I actually had a conversation with my therapist about this. Leading up to the beginning of the school year, I was stressed. And she's just like, what's going on? Just like the anticipation of all the things that I have to do to get them to school and then my participation in school with them.
Mm,
And then she's just like, what were you doing last year? I'm just like, girl, I was there almost every week. And she's just like, tell me more. And I was like, well, actually, I had my own moment like, girl, what are you doing? Because I was talking to one of the other parents and she was like, I see you here all the time. I'm just like, yeah, the oldest is both of my kids' room parents.
mm,
And she's just like, oh, okay. And we started talking more and she was like, yeah, I don't work. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I told my husband that, once we had kids, I'm just not going to work. Like, this will be my job. I'm just like, I get it. But when she said that, I was just like, girl, why are you in a like low key competition with people who don't have the same life as you. So I had to check myself
mm,
and then had the conversation with my therapist. Like I was competing or trying to show up like folks who
mm.
this is their full thing. I have other things that I also have to do and I'm stressed out and I'm frazzled. And yeah, so do that audit because
That's good.
it didn't make
Right, girl,
sense.
you're showing
Did
up
not make
quickly
sense.
comparing yourself to somebody who's also not running a podcast, who I don't know if she has more than 1 kid, you got 2 of them,
Yeah.
and you're
Yep.
working a
And I work.
yeah,
Yes.
so it's a
So
different game.
yes. So I was just trying to do things just reflexively, like, oh, I want to be present for my kids in all these ways, which kind of goes back to my own childhood stuff. Like my mom worked a lot, so she couldn't.
Mm,
So I'm like, well, I need to be there. But like, no, girl, like do your audit. What makes sense for you and put things into categories based off of what are your needs, what are their needs, and what can you do? So I overextended myself. I think a lot of us do.
yeah, for
So I
sure.
appreciate you saying
I
that.
really do think that we do have to be honest about the sacrifices that we need to make in order to, live the life that we want. That lady was like, I'm sacrificing not working, not working a
Hmm.
job. And some people might be like, that's not a sacrifice, but there is a sacrifice to not providing for yourself specifically financially, right? There's a luxury to
Yeah.
it too, but it's like, okay, my sacrifice is I'm going to spend more of my time with my kids here. Another sacrifice is, I'm going to sacrifice Saturday mornings to then, take my kids to soccer because I don't see them as
Yep.
much throughout the week, whatever it is. But I think just being
Right.
honest about what's the sacrifice that I desire to make, because the outcome is so much more important than, what I'm trading off.
Yeah. And I think also for me right now, I'm in the season where I am, as you were talking about earlier, like locking in, like this is my season.
Mhm.
'Cause I took the summer and I was just like, I just need to like decompress and just let my brain relax for a second. And I think for me, I'm reminding myself that I need to sacrifice some things for a moment, you know? So right now, like life ain't soft, but it will be, you
Yes,
know?
that is so good. Honestly, the episode that you need a link for them, that I have on my podcast is just talking about doing hard things for a season. I remember one of my team members was like, just how do you do the hard things? Like, how do you, you go to the gym, you create the content, you do these things. And I always give the caveat of one, I always try to look at my life from the place of privilege. Right now, I have the privilege of not having kids. I have the privilege in this season of not being married, so I don't have to take care of anybody. So I instantly look at
Mhm.
my privileges because I love looking for examples of why I can win in an area, right? So it's like, okay,
Mm.
because I have the privilege in this season, not to say that I don't desire those things. It's going to be a privilege when I'm married and I have financial help. It's going to be a privilege when I have kids and I feel so much more fulfilled from a love standpoint. But now that I have the privilege of having my time to myself to be selfish, here's the hard things that I'm making a decision to do. In that episode, I talk about this philosophy where I said every single desire has to be tied to a discipline. What is the
Mm.
discipline that you need to have in order to have the desires that you want? So if I desired to be married to a godly man, what type of disciplines do I need to have to attract a godly man? If I desire to be physically fit and have a certain aesthetic, what disciplines do
Mhm.
I need to have the body that
Yeah.
I want? If I desire to be more biblically literate, what disciplines do I need to have in place where I'm reading scripture, I'm memorizing it, and I'm holding myself accountable? And so I think that's where the sacrifice conversation comes into play. And so I think that that episode could be really helpful.
Yeah, I'll definitely link. I made a note to include it into the show notes for sure. So that is actually a perfect segue. So where can the people find you online and, your offerings and things?
Yes. So if you want to find me online, I'm always on Instagram at my Elious, MAYAELIOUS. If you want to join my Work Hard, Live Soft community, go to mayaelious.com/community. I have all of the systems to help you reduce the overwhelm. And it's just a great place to just be with other women who just don't want to be overwhelmed. They want to live soft, but they have the work ethic to do hard work, but they wanna do work that has a payoff that they desire.
Yeah, I love that. And as you were talking, one thing that like a light bulb went off for me. You mentioned the privilege of A, B, C, and D. I think we all should think about what privileges we all have. I think when we are overwhelmed or just unclear about what we want to do and how we want to show up in the world, we just see all the negative, like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have the time, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. But like we all have something, we all are privileged in some way, and we can use that privilege to help ourselves and, of course, help other people around us. So I'm really happy that you said that. And that's for me to take home too.
I love that, so good.
But thank you so much, Maya, for your time and for your wisdom. I will link everything down below. Please go ahead and follow. Also, Maya, what is your podcast name?
My podcast is Work Hard, Live Soft.
Okay, perfect. Work Hard, Live Soft. And I'll also link that specific episode down below in the show notes. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Be Well Sis. If you'd like to get in touch with us, there's a link in the show notes. Be Well Sis is hosted by me, Dr. Cassandra Dunbar, and produced by Edit Audio. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. Until next time, be well, sis.